Welcome back to Self Revelations. It's your boy B-Dab.
And this is Juan Moreno.
Juanavelli. I'm not gonna lie. Going live before we doing the podcast, bro. I ain't gonna lie. We was doing numbers. Being able to inspire and motivate people that came in there, asking for advice or telling us how much our podcast means to them. It really, like, for me personally, it made me feel good because it's just like, damn, like, they have an actual platform where they can go and express themselves or go and, like, ask for advice, or people that they can genuinely reach out to. Like, because we're regular people they can reach out to and, seek help for anything that they have questions for. So, being able to go live and have that that close interaction with people that, support us it was honestly dope to see. And, you giving advice, me giving my advice, not saying that our advice is right or wrong, you know what I mean? Like, just putting it out there for you to, obviously take it in or not. This is what we do it for. You know what I'm saying? We do it to motivate and inspire people. So seeing you guys coming to live and showing love and respect, we genuinely appreciate that.
Yeah, and it really speaks about, I believe, like the community that we are building, the transparency and being honest within our own experiences on a week-to-week basis while making these episodes. We're speaking our truth, like speaking on what we're struggling with, what we realize, our success in the moment, our confidence, our relationships at a certain extent. And then to see somebody share what they're going through in an open platform that anybody can see, and not giving a damn about judgment or anything, but actually seeking help, like, just seeking for any words of encouragement or how to deal with the situation. I think that's what us as people are all about. I mean, when you are in a church setting, religion, a team, a group, a family, or even within yourself, I think, how they say, like, it takes a village to raise children. I think even our platform is trying to show that. Like, we have a platform where you could be honest and share your experiences and then seek help. And then we had other people chiming in and trying to give a perspective for that person. I think that was beautiful.
Beautiful, bro.
That is what it's all about, I think, is that us as people are here to help people understand what they're going through, not judge them, but then try to help instead of, oh, you're dumb for that, or you're stupid, or you put yourself in this. Like, no, instead of maybe stating an obvious, you give a solution. It's kind of like, I don't like people that always like to push what's wrong, but yet have no solution for it. It's like, oh yeah, this is wrong about this is wrong about that. But you're just pointing out the obvious. Like, what's the solution? Like, what's your solution? Nothing? Shut the fuck up. Like, that's my thing. Like, if you're gonna sit here and judge and point things out, but yet you're not gonna provide a solution to the problem, you're just as bad as the problem. You're not helping. You're almost elevating the problem. And to see during that live people trying to help, and us coming from a good place and understanding and not understanding that we don't understand, I think it's power. So it was just a beautiful experience that I know that we should definitely do more often.
Most definitely. And, bro, this is our first time going live. You know what I'm saying? All that impact that and all the free game that we gave out was just from going live one time. Somebody went on there and said, bro, I genuinely appreciate you guys' podcast. You guys helped me through a hard time in my life. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you see that type of shit and you're like, damn, bro, like, we're not doing nothing but being ourselves, having regular conversations that we would have if the camera wasn't on. We've said this a million times. Like, we will have conversations that legit, like, we will have maybe smoking cigars on your balcony or out on a drive or at a bar. Like, this is stuff that we will actually talk about and conversate about. So hearing people, like, in all reality, just letting people in on the conversations that we already talk about and saying that, that had some impact on them and that they switched, some stuff that they were doing for the better, it's beautiful to hear and see, because all it's about is about us doing the best that we can and being the best version of ourselves that we can. And if we can help somebody else do that, or adapt a new healthy habit, or a new healthier way of thinking, or anything like that, for their children or for their family or for themselves, it's beautiful to see. So I personally love seeing that type of shit, because I feel like that fuels my soul. Like, that's what I'm here to do, is to motivate and inspire other people. So, and similarly, you too, that's why we're like drawn together so much, and that's why I fuck with you so heavy, is because like you're not just talking about it, you live the shit every day. You know what I'm saying? And you do it through your family. And that's why when I hear and see stuff like this, it makes me feel so good, and gives me so much more purpose to do what we do. Even if it was only one person that followed us and watched our videos and took our advice, it's still worth it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And to even like, just to add on, like, you start to see that a lot of people don't have these conversations with nobody. Like, especially like, forgiveness is a lonely path, and being a leader is a lonely path, and being the black sheep in your family, being the person that separates yourselves from everyone else. It's hard to, who's going to hold you down? So like the fact that, we have each other, and we all have other people that contribute in a certain way too, really does benefit us therapeutically, to then see what we're struggling with at that moment, or maybe an other side of the picture that we're not seeing, that a lot of people don't have. And I think we are creating a platform where people can see and talk and feel like they're in the conversation, because they can relate. Because what we talk about, it doesn't matter what level you are, whether you're a janitor or you're sanitation cleaning, to being damn near a president, like, or a CEO or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, you're human. So everything we talk about is like the human experience of emotions and struggles and trying to be better and fucking up and judging, being judged. And the fact that we can create a platform where people could then be honest with themselves and hear us and provide their perspective on their experience. And then people were to add on to them, like, hey, know your worth. You're not focusing on yourself. You're investing your whole life on somebody else's world or society. I think it really shows how important it is that what we're doing here is needed in the world, because a lot of people are judging, or I'm better than you, I'm better than this, or you shouldn't believe that, you should believe this. To then hear somebody that is curious about, why you think how you think and what you're going through and what we can do to help, I think is so different to the norm nowadays, that it's creating an impact. And it's not from us thinking we're creating an impact, it's from like what we see and what we hear from people giving us the feedback. Like, this is not something we're like, it's in our head, but you gotta call a spade, and you gotta be able to see what we're doing and not be oblivious to it. Like, we're doing something, and just by being ourselves and having conversations that people don't have. And I think, as long as we continue to hold ourselves to high integrity, and to also know we're human and we're still gonna fuck up even after this podcast, like, as long as we're learning and we're trying, we are good with ourselves.
Facts. Because we're gonna get better as we go, and it's all about 1% better every day. So as long as we're like you said, like, we're trying to be a better version of ourselves, we're trying to spread peace, love, and positivity to each and everybody that we come in contact with, we're gonna be fine. And I know for me personally, like, the stuff that we do, where we're inspiring somebody, or maybe me and you were talking about different things that we've got through in our life, it's all therapy for me. This is all first time that me personally, that I'm speaking of on things, and speaking of things that happen in my life, with death in the family. Like, I've never sat down with a family member and had conversations like this, or sat down with a friend and had conversations like this. This is the first for me. So this all is therapeutic for me, because usually I use sports and I use football to express myself, or to get that frustration that I have buried down out. But at the same time, you got to think about it. Football is a season sport. It's a fall sport. So you're going to only get that for 10 games. What happens after those 10 games and you don't have that platform to express yourself? What are you going to do when that same stuff that you're dealing with, the season's over, you can't go and decleat somebody or smack somebody or run somebody over or physically express yourself, then what? The gym can only do so much for you. You know what I mean? Like, not 99% of the people out there don't have counselors, don't have people that they can go and talk to, don't have mentors. So what are you going to do? So, this newfound love that I've had with, our podcast, it's just something that I've grown to genuinely love and enjoy that we do. It was rough at the beginning because of everything's new. You're learning how to open up. You're learning how to edit. You're learning how to post videos. You're learning how to do all this stuff. But when we got in our funk, it was beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see our growth. It's beautiful to see you grow. You go spend time with your family, have these type of conversations, spend time with your mother that you haven't seen in years on end, and get some sort of closure, and it's beautiful to see, and I want it to continue, because just imagine, bro, we're only 6 months into this shit. Let me be correct. We're on the 20 something, on the 24th, we'll be like 6 months in. But even then, oh no, we are 6 months in. We'll be 6.5 months in. But considering like all this stuff, like, this is something that is special, and I feel like, through manifesting, through, us putting the work in, praying on it, just generally keeping it as natural as possible and, unfiltered as possible and being organic, the sky's the limit for us and what we're doing with this platform.
Yeah. Just extremely grateful for like everything that's going on, these conversations, like how you said, very therapeutic, and then you see other people also see it as therapeutic because the stuff that we talk about, nobody does. Like, you don't hear it in I'm not gonna say all of them, but like a lot of conversation that's online, or even conversations that they have with people, you don't hear that often. So like the fact that we're able to like speak on stuff that people see that they're scared to be open to judgment. And even for us, I feel, I'll work through it. I think life is too short to care about what people think about you and what you say about what's going on. I think if you have like a good head on your shoulders by, knowing that you're going to try your best and you're continuously learning, and you have people in your circle or yourself or a book or interview or a mentor, that it's inevitable for you to be successful. It's just trial and error. Like, you're just figuring yourself out, whatever's going on in your life, that you will be okay at the end of the day. And whatever judgment you receive, you are okay with that judgment because it says more about that person than it does about you. And you have to be at peace with knowing that you operate different between the other person, and that you have to continue to love yourself and invest in yourself more than the other person that's the opposite of you, or they make it try to seem opposite. But I think that's the good thing about us, is we try to remind ourselves, or maybe others, that we're human first, and regardless of color, regardless of beliefs, regardless of political views, that at the end of the day, we're human. Some people make it more difficult than it should be, and I think it's just you close yourself. I think us as humans, we're supposed to be us as humans are supposed to be surrounded by loved ones, like a community. So if you don't have a community, that's like a lonely road. You see a lot of people go into depression and stuff like that. And I think without a community with friends or family or co-workers or a team, I think life gets a little bit more difficult than it should be. But if you open yourself up and to have these type of conversations, you would see how much similarities you have with people than you do differences. Like, we have way more in common with every single person that you meet than you do differences. You guys might have all the same beliefs and family, but the only difference is that you voted for Biden and he voted for Trump. And so you're going to forever hold that person against that, when at the end of the day, you guys actually have way more in common. And so I think that also translates to intentions. What are your intentions for what you do? And if you can't explain to me why you did what you did, or why you voted how you voted, or why you believe this, I think you need to reflect on that and figure that shit out. Because I can't relate. For me, for myself, personally speaking, everything I do has intentions. There's a reason why I do what I do. And so when you question me, it's easier for me to give you an insight for why I did what I did. And I will never expect for you to understand it or expect for you to believe the same way I believe. But I'm comfortable by giving my insight. And if you try to judge me and stuff like that, that's fine. But I'm the type of person to then put the ball back in your hands and to be like, well, why do you feel you're perfect because of me being wrong from you hearing what I believe? So I think at the end of the day, I think we sometimes, don't give the opportunity to listen to each other more and to be curious, like how I did with my mom, how you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt a certain judgment towards my mom, and when I got with her after years apart, to be able to have a conversation with her and to be curious about her life and to understand her as a person instead of just being my mother, because at the end of the day, she's a person first. She has a first and last name that she was born with and an identity who she's with before I was even born in the picture. It's like for people who don't have kids that are self-centered and they're ambitious in goals and whatever. When you have a kid, they change your life, right? But you have a life already. So I think for me, being the child of somebody, I want to know more about them and be curious to learn from them instead of judging. So for me, it's like redirecting conversations now. Like this podcast, it's rare to see something like this because you don't really see it that often. People are faking an image or doing this and that, clickbait, trying to rile people up together. But for us, at the end of the day, we're just being ourselves.
Yeah, facts. And it's beautiful to see, like, these are real life things that we're going through, real life things that you're addressing with, the people who've, birthed you, the people who, that you grew up with, and all these things like that we're experiencing and going through, stuff we're dealing with today. Like, it's genuinely things that we're working through as we're going through the podcast. So not only are we growing, but we're inspiring other people that might be going through the exact same thing as Juan Moreno or as Brandon Dabney. You know what I mean? So I love to see, us work through these struggles and work through, us getting through these type of things, these real life problems, these real life things that not all people think about or talk about, because I've never had a actual sit down with, my parents either about stuff that I've been through or went through, but I know eventually, I will. And you're at that point right now to where you are having those conversations with your family. You are having those conversations with your mom and, eventually your dad, and these are breakthrough moments. You know what I'm saying? These aren't like, cause this is like stuff that maybe a lot of people like go to the grave without having these type of conversations with their parents or having these type of conversations with somebody who might have hurt them or somebody who might have not been the best example in their life, brothers or sisters or whatever it may be. But breaking the barriers and actually having these type of conversations are going to take you miles and miles ahead of where you could be if you just kept everything inside. And I think that's beautiful in its sense. And, one thing that you talked about earlier, or what you brought up, was, working on yourself. And, when somebody was in our live, they were talking about how a certain situation, had brought them to think if they, their spouse, really wanted to be with them. And, they said some things on the lines of like, they don't know if they love them or not. and she basically was asking us for advice. And the best advice that I could give them is like, if anyone, ever has to double check or think if they want to be with you, or have to weigh the pros and cons of being with you or not, like, I think that's time for you to, work on yourself and split ways. Because if they don't see your value off the rip, or if they don't necessarily want to be with you, or if they're miserable with you, I think it's time for you to go work on yourself and do your own thing, because you shouldn't have to convince somebody to love you. You shouldn't have to convince somebody to want to be with you, to raise their kids or start a family, or want to build a life with you. So, after giving her advice and stuff like that, these are just stuff that me genuinely, when I was looking for somebody, or when I was in a relationship that maybe wasn't the best, that's one of the things that were defining moments where I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. I'm done. Being in a toxic relationship and being like, damn, this person is my drug. But after a certain time of like someone pushing you away, it was just kind of like, okay, this person genuinely doesn't want to be with me. They're attached to me, but they don't want to be with me. They don't love me. They don't want to have a family with me. They don't want to build something with me. They're just here until they find someone else, right? So it was beautiful to be able to shoot somebody game and shoot somebody knowledge on our experiences and genuinely give them some insight from a male's perspective. Because that's one of the questions she asked. She's like, from a male's perspective, what do you think that I should do? And I'm not saying that what we were telling her was the perfect thing to do, but it was from our perspective, like, hey, you might want to look into this, or you might want to work on yourself or challenge yourself to not focus on what this person did to you or how this person treats you. No, focus on, okay, how do you react to disrespect? How do you react to negativity? How are you doing things daily to focus on yourself, to get yourself 1% better every day, to be a better person, be healthier physically and mentally, to be stronger for your kids? Or are you so focused on that person? And like you said, like when we were in the live, being so invested in somebody else's world, you don't even realize you have a world for your own, right? So being able to shoot that knowledge and be able to talk to that person genuinely, it's why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like it's so easier said than done, right? It's like, oh, you have to invest in yourself. Yeah, you have to put the energy towards you. And because I understand that feeling that you're in when you're so invested into the relationship, you want it to work. And I mean, I can't speak for this part. Like, you have kids, you live in the same household, you're kind of comfortable, and you have like this, this feeling of home in there. But then at the end of the day, you're not happy. And I feel like, you have to really address yourself and look in the mirror and really ask yourself the hard questions. Like, am I where I should be? Is this supposed to be a ideal relationship? Is this worth being in? Is this what I envision a relationship to be? Or is this what society showed? Or I seen with my mom and my dad, who decided to only be together for the kids? Do I want that? Like, you have to really ask these hard questions, and you have to start implementing the little things by investing in yourself, by reading books, educating, getting a new job, a new career, maybe a new perspective. Are you trying to elevate? Do you want to work these things out with that person? Is that person willing to work it out? Like, and that's some hard things to see, especially when emotions are in the way. When emotions are in the way, you're not going to be logical. You're going to try to chase comfortability, or trying to chase and be okay with the person, the way that they're treating you. Like, that's why I believe, like, you have to, like, have respect for yourself and don't tolerate certain things. I really believe you should not tolerate no disrespect. The moment you tolerate disrespect, you now open the doors for them to do more. I believe if somebody hits you in a relationship, no matter how much they've grown or whatever, this persona, or like things get good for a few months, I think it's only a matter of time till they hit you again. Mm-hmm. I don't believe like he only hit me once. I never heard this, and I know a few people that have been in like abusive relationships once they hit you again, they'll hit you again. So I think, and I've never been through that relationship, and, I've seen it and heard stories about it. I don't want to say people don't change, but I think there's certain things that you're not going to help them change if you stay in that relationship. Like, you have to remove yourself, let that person suffer for them to then create a desire to change fully. I think it's so hard to be in an abusive relationship or a person that doesn't cherish you and is not trying to work it out long term if you're still there. I feel like sometimes we don't know. What is it? We don't know what we want until it's gone, or so yeah, we don't know what we want until it's gone, for us then to realize we have been ungrateful this whole time. And sometimes it takes for you or somebody else to really realize that. And you really have to take a sacrifice and risk, moving back with your family, moving back with your mom or your dad, with all the other kids, you being an older adult now, to take 10 steps back. It might feel like 100 steps back, and you're embarrassed. You feel like you're going to be judged because you're moving back at home with your parents. But long term, as long as you start to work and try to get better and try to, put yourself in a better situation, it is worth taking those 10 steps back to take 1,000,000 forward long term. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the short term wins, and that's why you see these relationships last longer than it should. A relationship might last 10 years, but it should have been over 2 years in. So, like, you have to be able to, know what you want in the relationship, know what you want for yourself and that person, and then create the boundaries, and to know certain things are not tolerable when it comes to respect for you. So, I don't know, man. That was just a great experience on that live. Like, that was eye-opening for me.
Most definitely. And there's many more to come, that I feel like that's going to be a regular thing that we do. And, considering I only have 10 days left in my season, that might be a thing that we do once or twice a week. You know what I mean? Like, considering, like, me coming out here and actually just kicking it and hanging out. That might be a thing that we just do. Like, hey, Juan, do you want to go to Applebee's, chill, and go on go on IG Live or TikTok Live? But that was definitely something that, stuck with me and definitely impacted me. Certainly, like, a lot of the positive feedback that we were getting from our podcast, and people, like, and I, speaking from the heart, and I just love the fact that so many people can be impacted by us just being ourselves, and not trying to play a role. We're not role playing over here. This is like real life shit that we're going through and getting through. So, and we're only on the tip of the iceberg. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't even reached, half of our full potential when it comes to this podcast shit, because you're still learning. I'm still learning. We're still getting to points that, we're opening up to a certain amount. And me personally, I feel like I've only opened up 2% of, like, the shit that I think about or stuff that I've been through, because it's just like, it's not that timing yet for me personally. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm not there to actually talk about it. Maybe me and you, of course, but talking about it on our platform, I'm not there yet. So, considering how much we have impacted people from just being a certain percentage of being open or getting there, I know through the things that I'm reading, the things that I'm, getting through, the things that I'm addressing within myself, it's just making me better. And eventually it'll be like, okay, this is something that I've got through, and this is something that I have addressed within myself. This is why I was feeling this way. I don't want to speak on something that I haven't fully got through or addressed or fixed within myself that was necessarily not being portrayed in a good light. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, like, we are, to be honest, we are freestyling this whole, like, that's why Joe Rogan really brought this up to me like by listening to his podcast, obviously. Like when he talked about how like podcast is a best example of like a conversation. Like we are every word I'm saying even right now, I didn't plan out, and I'm not thinking about like it's not script. This is not scripted. Our podcast, people will talk about like, oh, you guys have great topics. We don't have really topics majority of the time. Like we might have questions, maybe, but majority of the time it's just, hey, do you know what you want to talk about? Like, yeah, I kind of do. Fuck it, turn it on the camera, like make sure the audio is working. Like a lot of things that we're talking about is being off the dome, like straight pure, straight raw, not fully digested yet. And I think, you know, being honest by you saying, and even I said it too, is like there's certain things, we're being very open, but there's certain things that we're not yet because we're still working through it. We're not comfortable yet. Is it truly how we feel? Is this the place to do it? You know, do I feel comfortable? It's like, and nothing's wrong with that. And I think that's what people forget. It's like, if you don't want to share it, that's fine. You know, you shouldn't force anybody to do anything unless it's to, you know, something that they really want, but they're scared to, so they need a push. That's understandable. But certain things, you know, it'll come in due time. Like there's definitely certain things that I've been through in my life that I have yet to talk about yet that will come later on because I'm still working through it. It's not like it's like, you know, I'm dying by holding it in or whatever. No, I've shared it with certain people and stuff like that, and maybe not, but you know, I'm still okay where I'm at, and I am happy where I'm at, and just like doing this like podcast and talking to you and stuff like that is enough for me to keep going. Like it's not gonna eat me out. Like it's not gonna eat me up not by talking about certain things. So I think that is a lot of truth too. It's like, you know, with this platform and the way it's going and talking to you, I think it's inevitable that, you know, my experiences can help somebody else, just like how your experiences will help somebody else too. And yeah, we're unique, but we have a lot more similarities than we have differences when it comes to the human race, not ethnicity. Like we have a lot more in common than we do differences.
Yeah, facts. And, you know, a couple of the things, you know, we were talking about beforehand. I know it was a question that you had asked me. I can't remember the exact question that you had asked me beforehand. And we were talking about on the basis of like, you know, because, you know, we have different backgrounds when it comes to like our upbringing, you know, our faith, you know, my faith in God and, you know, maybe your faith in yourself or faith in like the direction that you're going and your intentions. And you asked me like, you know, I do believe this is what you asked, like, what is putting God first to you? And, you know, one of the things that I brought up was, you know, from my experiences and all the things that I've been through, the things I've prayed for, the things I've prayed through and got through, you know, getting through my depression and, you know, breakups and praying for, you know, to be in the position that I am today, to play at this level, you know, giving him praise for, first and foremost, giving him praise for putting you in the positions that you asked him, right? So these things that I put in work for him to work with. So I didn't just sit on the couch and pray to be in a position that I'm in. I busted my ass and I worked. So he put me in a position that I can feed myself and feed my family, and I can do the things that I love, and put me in a position to where I was comfortable. So, you know, I'll always give God praise for, you know, putting me in a position where, you know, I can be successful, because I know a lot of these things work out like kind of like luck. My opportunity that I got for the Panthers, you could say would be luck, without an agent, without anything. Yeah. I got on the team and, you know, have a lot of film through, you know, my hard work I did over the season, but praying too. This opportunity came to me out of the blue. So that didn't come from nothing but the grace of God. So I always giving praise to him for putting me in the position to succeed, and always, giving him glory and praise and living my life in a way that he would be proud. So I'm always gonna motivate, inspire, show love, give people advice, love people unconditionally and not without get anything in return.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to give me anything from giving you advice or showing you love or anything in that way. And similarly, Jesus lived the same way when he was on earth. He did things out of love. He did things because, out of the goodness of his heart. He was the only perfect human other than Adam that, came to earth and, showed truly a reflection of God. You know what I mean? So I genuinely think that by putting God first, that it comes through your actions, how you treat people, how you treat your family, how you treat each and every person that you come in contact with, your purpose, how you move. It comes with everything. And obviously giving him the time of day, whether if it's reading your Bible, praying, an hour at church, a week, an hour a week at church or Bible study or the Kingdom Hall, wherever you go to, giving him time. If you look and say, I don't have an hour to give God, you're bullshitting. Everybody has an hour. Everybody has 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Giving something to him, regardless of how busy your schedule is. You know what I mean? And living your life in a way that pleases him, through the Bible. I think that's what, putting God first and living for him really is.
The importance of priorities, right? It's and that's why I feel you don't have to have. I feel like it's important to have a structure, and develop a structure if you don't have one, of your priorities that need to be set. How you articulated it pretty good too. It's we have both different upbringings, and then for me it's my upbringing was the belief in myself. For me, everything started with myself. The moment that my life changed is when I started accepting accountability for everything that's happened in my life and knowing that I can do something about it. But it would feel uncredible for me not to also give thanks, because I remember in some of the worst times in my life, I would always pray. I would pray to God. And I would pray when I would sleep, every time before I would go to sleep. So even in my worst moments, depression, when my lady got into the car accident, I would pray on my knees and have my hands up. I was raised Catholic, but I don't even know really the full 101 of being Catholic. But I always would start off by praying in my praying hands, and I would sit on the corner of my bed or in the couch, and I would just first start off by not asking for things to just be handed to me, but first off by just being grateful where I'm at, and things aren't to the point of no return yet. But I would just ask to just give me the strength, give me the strength to battle this. I know in my most weakest moments, when I feel I can't even rely on myself, I do kind of put it to the highest of the highest power. I never really knew, and you hear this kind of I hear this actually pretty common. I don't really have a certain person that I pray to. I just pray for the highest of the highest power, and I don't know what that is, but there's some feeling I have, attachment to whatever there's some connection I have with what it is that's above me. There's something that's above me that I know is watching over me, or that voice in my head. There's the negotiator, there's the, people call it a demon, people call it the judgment person, the mitote, or these certain phrases and this energy that talks to you in a negative way, tries to persuade you. And then for me, there's that high power, like the integrity, the highest power of integrity. I don't know what that is, but that's who I pray to when times really, really get tough. Like certain things that I don't pray consistently, but I know like the moments that are the hardest. I'm talking about like to the point where like no hope is almost there. I know one person I can go to, and that person is who I pray to. Like the moments when it gets real tough. And I wasn't raised the most religious. Like I went to church when I was young. I did my little first communion as a Catholic, being raised as a Catholic. My family didn't really, they would go to church, but it wasn't fully invested. But I don't know, something always stuck with me by believing that there's something higher than me, that no matter what happens, no matter what I go through, like it's good to feel that whatever I'm going through is meant for a reason, to learn or to make me stronger and develop a thicker skin for the next time this happens again. I don't know. Every time I prayed, every time I got through these like hopeless struggles and moments in life, one thing for sure that shows, every time I get to that point, I just build off of it. Like it never goes like each hopeless moment never goes like lower. It actually goes up higher after I get through it. And I think, by you have to believe in something. That's my thing. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in God. You have to believe in the highest power or ideology or something. But you have to believe in something, or else you're going to be lost and you're going to be swayed everywhere around the world where it pushes you. And so you need to have you need to have something to solidify yourself to believe in when times get tough. And if you don't, I think it's difficult. You got to have faith, some type of faith.
Yeah, for sure. And I never knew that about you. I never knew that you actually, like, especially during the accident or anything like that, I never knew that you prayed. I never knew that you had some type of spiritual connection to like a higher power, to where like when things get tough, like you pray. Like I don't think we've ever had that conversation. We've always talked about like how you felt in that time, but you having that higher connection to a higher power is really strong, even without knowing like where it's coming from, whether if you believe it's the universe or God or Jehovah, Yahweh, anything. Like you having that connection, you praying to them, and just praying to them for strength, that can do numbers for you. And you getting through all of that really shows that someone is, you think that someone's watching you, someone is watching over you. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like you're not alone when it comes to dealing with these anxieties and stresses of life, because these combos that life has for us is mean. These Mike Tyson combos, like I'm telling you, like all the stuff that you go through and you deal with, we can't get through it alone. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely a tough road, but it's not like no one's ever been through these things. You know what I mean? We can get through these things, through the grace of God and through our faith, or however you get through it. But I'm happy that you have some connection to a higher power. You believe in a higher power, and that you believe that, like, in some way, shape, or form, that they've pulled you through like your trials and tribulations.
Yeah. And see, man, like this is the power of like having this type of open conversation. Like you just brought that out of me. I forgot all about that. Like I forgot like that when I look back in retrospect, every single time I got to my lowest moments in life, I always prayed. There was moments in my life when I was a child, I used to have this bad case of having like terrible dreams, like bad dreams about my family passing away, getting killed in front of me, or me dying. Like I would have these like very, very, like very harsh dreams that I would end up getting. You ever heard of those? What's it called? Dream catchers. I would get this like dream catcher of a wolf, think that it would help, and it did. Like I think placebo effect, but not until I started praying and like letting go, like God, like apologizing, and like probably not the most ideal way to pray, but I would pray for the dreams to go away. Like, please, like, just let me go to sleep normal. And like, I'm like, I get scared. Like being a child, like I was like 12, from the ages of like probably 12 to 17. I used to have like terrible nightmares, like almost every other day. So like I would pray, get a dream catcher, try to do anything I can, and but not until I started praying that every day. I'm talking about consistently for every day for years. Like every time I would pray, I wouldn't have a bad dream. The moment I didn't pray, I would have a bad dream. Now I don't pray as much. I think I actually do pray in a way now with my eyes open. Just like how I meditate with my eyes open. I be in the present moment. I just remind myself, like, like how incredible is this? I'll literally be at work. I'll be driving home sometimes. I'll be driving to work. I'll be driving, anywhere, or I'm walking or something, running. And I just, remind myself, like, damn, man, like, you get to do this. Like, you're over here walking. You're over here running. You're listening to this music, or I'm doing something that somebody else can't do, or I'm able to live this experience in this moment. Like, I'll have gratitude while being in the moment now. And I think that kind of helped me, like, be able to sleep better at night now, a little bit better, without having a fear of dreams. And, like, with the conversation earlier, like, before I brought up the whole praying thing, like, that conversation that you were just explaining about faith and God, putting God first and stuff like that, and praying and the power of that, really brought that up again in my mind. I'm like, damn, like, yeah, when times get tough, like, I know that I need to, seek help from somebody that's higher than me. Because I have a huge belief in myself, but, I never looked at myself as somebody bigger than who I really am, which is I'm just a regular person too, just like everybody else. So I think knowing that somebody's watching you, or having the belief that you're not in it and you're not by yourself, I think is a beautiful thing.
So do you believe that, your greatness, and because that's what you're forming to right now. You're forming to be great. You're forming to be the best version of yourself as possible. Do you think that the way that you're forming, the man that you're becoming, is coming from a high power as well? Whether if you believe in God, like I said, God, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, whatever it may be, do you believe that's pushing you to, or maybe guiding you in the way that you should walk?
Yeah, there's something that's beyond me. Like, there's something bigger than me, I think. Because when people see me how I am, especially at work and my family, and when they hear me talk, and like an example of today at work, I was training a new guy that's planning on going to a different shift than I'm on for his family purposes and like what's ideal for him. Him being in the room with me, hearing me talk, and the way I articulate myself, my patience, and just the way I guess I carry myself, he was like, what shift are you on? He's like, man, I want to go where you're at. Like, hearing that, I was like, damn, you're planning on going on this hours, and you're willing to contribute yourself to work for me just because of the way I carry myself. I think it says more about, something that's bigger than me, that's making it seem so easy to other people, that I work so hard for, but it seems kind of effortless how I do it. That's, something of a higher power. I don't know what it is. Like, there's a lot of things that I do that people look at me like I'm a unicorn. Like, they look at me like I'm so different. But to me, it seems effortless. And I think it's just my experiences in life, my perspective, my philosophy, my struggles, and my beliefs. And the biggest contributor for me that is maybe makes it easier for me to chase greatness is the humility in myself, knowing I'm just a regular person. I just want to try my best while I'm here in this earth for only so long. And knowing that there's something inside of me that wants to give more than to receive. I think, and I never had a lot in life. Like, I've had certain moments with my family that my childhood was up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Never consistently up. Like, it was just do. Like, things always happen. And to be able to go through that experience and go through every single emotion through that, and to still feel like I want to give more and expect nothing. I don't want nothing from nobody. Like, I'd rather give than to receive anything. I think I'll be okay with anything. I'm good with what I have. I always want to seek more for sure, but I want to seek more because it pushes me to be more, but it's to be able to give more. So I think that has to do something with, yeah. I don't know how you feel about this, but they say like God's in you, like, you know, you're a reflection of God, or that you hear these terms like you are God. Not saying that you're obviously better than God, or it's not saying that you are the replacement, but I feel like there's times where I do feel like that. I feel like God's within me. Like there's something inside of me that is, I'm here for a reason.
Yeah, that's definitely like, you know, the way that you're walking and the way that you're moving. There's certain things that we don't understand that are divine. You know what I mean? It's like the way that we get guided through life and the stuff that we experience, good or bad, like they happen for a reason so that we can be how we are today. Like if certain shit you didn't deal with that were bad in your life, you wouldn't be in the position that you were today. You know what I mean? And you know, and it's just the stuff that we experience, that we get through, that make us better, bro. All this stuff is already written. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to look back at things and be like, damn, I wish this was different. I wish this was different. All that shit was meant to happen, because our whole path, everything that we're going through, it's just another chapter in our book. You know what I mean? And once you get to the end, the happy ever after, you realize like, damn, I was supposed to go through these things. It made me that much better. Because I used to sit back and just think about like all the stuff that I did, and just think about like, damn, like if I did this different, I would have ended up here. That would have been better for me. And you don't really know. You genuinely don't know. You could have avoided an obstacle that possibly could have cut your chapter short, or maybe made your chapters 10 times worse. You know what I mean? So you never know. And you know, for your instance, you know, feeling like that, you know, like how you said, a God, or you feel like God's with you or anything like that. I think the interpretation, you know, obviously I don't agree with, like, you know, obviously you saying like, oh, I am a God. Like, I understand what you mean by it. It's like God's with you. God's spirit is with you. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're feeling. So I completely agree. You know what I mean? When you're on your grind, and your intentions of what you're doing and the way that you move, like, yes, you might feel that Holy Spirit. You might feel God's presence with you. And that's going to push you to be the man that you know you can be. And personally, that's why I fuck with you too. Because I feel like out of a lot of people that I met, not a lot of people move the way that you move. You know what I'm saying? And similarly, a lot of the ways that you move is how I move. So it draws us together. So, and I feel like my purpose and how things went drew me on a certain path, and our paths met at a certain point in our lives. And that's what led us to where we're at now. Like, all this shit was supposed to happen. Us making this podcast was supposed to happen. All us having this conversation, all this shit is supposed to happen. So us being here today and being able to do a podcast at 10 o'clock at night and doing these things and preaching and talking to people, you know, it's exactly what we're supposed to be doing at this time. It's powerful, bro. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Damn, I did not think this podcast was going to go this way.
Man, I didn't think it was either, bro. I didn't think it was either. But, bro, I'm telling you, bro. And, like, even, like, praying, like, and giving thanks. Even if you don't, if things are going perfect, you know, talking to God and giving thanks. Even if it's only for 10 seconds. Like, damn, bro, I've had a perfect day. You know, work was amazing. My girl's amazing. My life's going amazing. Let me give thanks to him real quick. 10 seconds a day. 10 seconds a day. Every day you wake up. Every day before you go to sleep. Oh, every time you wake up, thank you for allowing me to wake up, God. Thank you for, you know, whoever's out there, whatever has higher power. Thank you, Jehovah, Yahweh, Jesus, whatever. You know, it it's so beneficial, bro, to be thankful and grateful for the things that are in your life, because a lot of stuff that we take for granted, even our legs, our sight, our hearing, our senses, like it can be taken away at any moment. You know what I mean? So being thankful for these things and, you know, moving in a way to inspire and love and motivate people and doing things without wanting anything in return. You know, since the beginning of time, people have been living in this way and showing love in this way. So I feel like us doing it now, when the majority of people that you run into aren't gonna do this, you know what I'm saying? And you genuinely being like, okay, I'm gonna show this person love. I'm gonna look at this person. I'm gonna give this person motivation and inspiration, and I don't care what they give me in return. That is generally a true definition of showing love for someone else. You know what I'm saying? And doing things for people without showing anything or love, or loving this person generally, regardless of not putting it into a conditional sense, like, oh, I'm gonna love this person until they do this or cross me in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it goes a long way. But, you know, I genuinely appreciate this conversation that we've had today in this podcast and the stuff that we talked about before the podcast, and, you know, and genuinely digging deep on like certain thoughts and things that we believe, and having this conflict of you know, upbringing and belief systems, and talking about things and better understanding each other is super beneficial for not only our brotherhood, not only our podcast, but maybe for other people out there that maybe have a different perspective than the both of us, or have the same perspective with one of us, and like trigger something in them, like, damn, like every time maybe same as you, like every time I've been in a position where I was down and out, I've prayed too to a higher power and things got better. So, you know, I think there's a lot of value in a lot of things that we've discussed today.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's a beautiful way to end it, man.
Man, it for sure is. For sure is. You know, we love and appreciate every single one of you guys, and we thank you guys for, you know, being with us and tapping in with us with our another episode of Self Revelations Podcast. And, you know, we're gonna continue to grow, give you guys content, and you know, show love to you guys. And we appreciate you guys for tapping in with us on another episode. And we'll see you guys